Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of For What It's Nerd. Today we're back. This is kind of a little bit of an impromptu episode. I didn't know quite what to discuss today. And to be honest with you, I was trying to decide like what would be best to discuss. Because I've kind of been very busy. For those watching on YouTube, you'll see that behind me my shelf situation has changed a lot. There's a lot of stuff that's come in the past week to augment this, especially my Witcher stuff and some Marvel zombie stuff top there. So I had to reorganize all my shelving, make sure that it looked very nice for you guys watching on YouTube. If you are watching on Spotify, sorry that you can't see the amazing visual that is behind me right now, but you know that is the trade-off that you have for listening to my dulcet tones so intimately. Anyways, so with that said, we're going to get into the episode. Today we're discussing Deadpool news / rumors regarding the new movie that's coming out. I think next year, I believe Deadpool's meant to be, or is it the year after? I forget at this point. But the big news coming up this week is that Jennifer Garner will be returning as Elektra in Deadpool 3. Now, this is big because we haven't really got many confirmations on characters who we're seeing returning in this. We've seen a few from the MCU itself. Obviously, we know about Hugh Jackman's Wolverine as well, but we didn't know quite how the story was panning out. A lot of people did believe that this would be, because it's a multiversal journey, a multiversal story, that we might see a kind of take on Deadpool kills the Marvel universe, with it being Deadpool kills the Fox universe. Now, this Elektra confirmation, this Elektra return, Jennifer Garner's return here, is kind of the cornerstone of that. Really, we haven't really had proper discussion of what that might look like, but now we're starting to shape it up. So Jennifer Garner is confirmed. Of course, Elektra, you can't really have Elektra technically without Daredevil. So Ben Affleck's Daredevil is also being spotted to be on site. Ben Affleck has been spotted apparently on site for the filming. As well as that, of course, we have some characters from the MCU itself. We have Mobius showing up in this, and there is also apparently rumored to be a scene being filmed in which Deadpool is being chased through the forest by the TVA, which of course fits into Mobius being in this. I do wonder if Loki shows up, which might steal Deadpool's thunder a slight bit. One trickster for another, maybe, though Deadpool is a kind of powerhouse unto himself anyway, so maybe not. But the reason I'm bringing this up and the reason I want to discuss this is, of course, this is exciting. You know, anytime that Marvel pays homage to what's come before is very exciting. I mean, the fact that we're getting a Deadpool 3 is that anyways, right? As well as the fact that Hugh Jackman is, of course, in this kind of giving us one kind of last quote-unquote showing as Wolverine. So, you know, this movie was always going to be a bit of that. And there was, you know, there's been lots of rumors espoused about like the X-Men, you know, Sophie Turner showing up, or the older X-Men cast, or you know, Ian McKellen, you know, like all these different people who have been rumored to show up in this in one version or another. Now, the interesting thing with that is, and this is one thing I want to say as well, is that there's apparently rumors that this film will in part deal with Earth, let me speak properly, Earth 838, which is the universe we visited in Multiverse of Madness. And that leads into my main point that I kind of want to discuss about all of this. And that is, for those out there, a lot of this is rumors right now. We don't know if we're going to get Ewan Griffith as Mr. Fantastic in this. We don't know if Jessica Alba is going to play a version of Sue Storm in this. We don't know any of these things. Be very, very wary and very, very curtail your hype is what I'm trying to say. You know, Jennifer Garner is obviously returning. That seems very much confirmed. The Hollywood Reporter reported on this. So, like, this is something that is likely happening. And thus, I would argue at that point, you can pretty much confirm Ben Affleck's Daredevil. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is what we did. A lot of people did it. I was kind of included. Everyone thought Multiverse of Madness, which admittedly the name kind of gave that feeling. It didn't help that they named it that. Multiverse of Madness felt like it was really going to go for this aim of like being this really big movie that's going to have loads of things going on in it and loads of different places that you go to and all these characters that you meet and all this kind of like reinvigoration of this old media, and it didn't. Not to the same degree. It had some, of course. We have Black Bolt, which linked back into the Inhumans with Anson Mount, and of course we had Patrick Stewart back as Professor X in that, which was a very interesting take because that was the first time we saw Professor X in mainstream MCU material. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say, I think, is we have to be very careful that this film doesn't retread the same issues that happened with Multiverse of Madness. Now, I don't think it will. I think I'm almost curious, and this is what I am sort of curious about. I don't necessarily think it's fully true, but I'm curious to know if anything was curtailed with Multiverse of Madness because they knew that a Deadpool concept in a similar vein would sell better than a Doctor Strange concept. Now, not to say that Benedict Cumberbatch and Doctor Strange aren't big names. They are, right? But everyone loves Ryan Reynolds. Everyone loves Deadpool, most people. And everyone loves Hugh Jackman and everyone loves Wolverine, right? Like, this movie is so no-brainer that even if everything else is bad, those two are going to be great, right? So, like, this movie is going to, like, sell and sell well. I mean, if you look at Deadpool 2 really held its own in a place against Infinity War. Was it Infinity War? I think it was, right? Yeah. And stomped out Solo. Like, Solo basically didn't exist because Deadpool 2 did really well. And I don't see that being a change here, especially because this movie has so much bigger potential than the last two, because this is now in the wider Marvel universe. You could have any character show up and interact with Deadpool, which is just infinitely crazy for options. You know, you could have She-Hulk interacting with Deadpool and they could have a fourth Warlock. You could have, you know, there's so many different things. You could have, like, Hydra Bob, for example, because now Hydra is kind of more explicit within the realms of what Deadpool can do. So there's all these big options for what they can do with Deadpool this time. And obviously that's very exciting, right? So kind of what I'm saying is those options and those potentials are very exciting, and I feel myself getting excited thinking about it and the options available to Marvel as regards this. But we have to be careful not to overhype this, because we don't need let's look at The Flash, right? The Flash came out not long ago and it tried to do that. It tried to parade characters and parade old stuff and parade nostalgia and, like, parade, like, a bit of Zack Snyder stuff as regard the original, like, stuff from Man of Steel, to kind of bring in an audience, right? And yeah, it worked in a sense because people were interested in it, and there's there's a lot of discourse around it, but not monetarily and not artistically, right? And so I think they have to be careful of that. I mean, hopefully they're not resurrecting anyone by way of CGI in this, and as long as they stay away from AI like they did in the Secret Invasion opening, then I think they should be okay. But what I'm trying to say is this is a cautionary tale. Multiverse of Madness was kind of a cautionary tale, and I personally don't hate Multiverse of Madness. I think it does a lot of things right. Its name and its marketing was the bad part, especially because also a lot of stuff leaked ahead of time. So I'm really just trying to press upon everyone, let's take everything with a grain of salt. But saying that, there are some other interesting things that are coming up. So pretty much everyone has been rumored to be in this movie, which some of them I'm dubious about. But one thing that was interesting, and I have seen this a little bit, is that there are apparently going to be a number of Wolverine variants in this, which makes more sense because we have seen we've seen Logan, right? And Logan is the ending of that Wolverine's movie. So I feel like this Wolverine that is going to be in this movie is not that Logan. I don't know whether that's going to actually end up being the case or not, but I have this feeling that it's not that Logan. But what is important about that is if we have a variant of Wolverine, we have apparently have a few other variants of Wolverine in this movie. And, you know, we're in a multiversal saga, so that makes sense. But apparently that might even include a version of the classic yellow and blue suit that Wolverine wears, which, again, so there's all this kind of callback, there's all this referencing, etc. But I don't know. I think it's got to service the story, right? So as regards cameos slash story driven stuff, the TVA and Mobius make a lot of sense. If they go with the kill the like this Fox universe thing, all of them make sense. And especially a lot of people have kind of been saying, I hope they do like the recruiting scene in reverse from Deadpool 2, and like it's killing all these people off, and actually they're kind of there for next to no time at all, which would be kind of fun in its own way, right? And actually would be a very big subversion on the cameo trope, right? But yeah, I think they've got to be very careful on this one. I think they've got to be very aware of what they're doing and be very coy about it, but also very intellectual about it. And not in the sense of like it has to be highbrow. That's not what I'm saying. But I think they need to be very meticulous in how they plan this, because this could go very wrong very quickly. And I think that's the thing with the multiverse saga in general, is it because it's such a complex idea and storyline, you can very easily wash away meaning and complexity, like not like emotional complexity as opposed to like technical complexity. Because of that, we see that in parts with like characters like the Kang death at the end of Ant-Man. We kind of have this feeling like, oh well, Kang is going to return, like, so like the defeat, like the win is not that impactful, right? So you've got to be careful with how you do that. When it's done within a movie, it's fine, but when it's done across like, and this is the thing as well with the MCU, we've got to always remember this as well. The MCU is kind of the first of its kind, like a franchise that has this many projects that all interlink, and so we really need to be careful, because the MCU is already hard to get into. You don't want the content of the MCU to become hard to get into. I think I'm making sense as to what I'm saying there, but if not, then someone can roast me in the comments. But yeah, so you know, there's all sorts of. I could even go into a list of how all the people that have been said to be in this. So like I say, there's apparently some of the Fantastic Four meant to show up. Apparently there's rumors that William Stryker might be in the movie, which, to be honest, that would make sense depending on the Wolverine timeline. The Illuminati of 838, and apparently it'll be comprised of new people who are related to the old people. So they will be people related to the original Illuminati and seeking revenge on the person and universe who threw their world into disarray. So that's being said, is Wanda going to be a part of this movie? We don't know. I think very much that Scarlet. I always do that. Scarlet Witch and Scarlett Johansson. I think very much Elizabeth Olsen has suggested that she is not doing anything with Marvel at the moment, and that she's kind of trying to keep away from Marvel. But you never know with these things, because that could be some kind of coy maneuver on someone's part. I don't think so. I think she is taking a break, and I think she is exploring other things. But you know, you never know. One thing that is interesting, though, we have heard this, and I don't know if this is true or not, but there is reportedly a chance of Channing Tatum cameo as Gambit in this movie. Now, if anyone is aware of X-Men knowledge for the past however many years, is that Channing Tatum has wanted to play Gambit for years. And there was a project in mind, it was going to happen, and then it got into development hell, and then on top of that, Fox was bought out by Disney, and things very drastically changed very quickly because they wanted rid of everyone, essentially, because they were going to start anew, and they weren't going to continue with, you know, X, Y, Z. So, yeah, that would be interesting. I think that one's kind of deserved. I feel like if you've worked on trying to get this character going for a lot of years, get a movie about this character or a show or whatever it ends up being, out about a character for years, and then you don't really get the chance to. So I really hope for that one. That's the one I'm kind of like, please do that just for Channing Tatum. I feel like he kind of deserves that. No, I don't usually buy into that. I don't usually buy into like fan casting, especially self fan casting. I mean, we know how that went with The Rock, for example, with Black Adam. But yeah, I want to love everything that's coming out about this and everything that's being rumored. And of course, the Jennifer Garner thing is basically confirmed. So some of this is happening, regardless of whether it is confirmed yet or not. But I'm keeping myself back, because if this doesn't go the way we want it to, we know that people will turn this project instantly, and I'm trying to be the person who doesn't do that, because I want to go into this movie with little to no expectations and enjoy it as a result. So, with all of that said about the Deadpool movie, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of For What It's Nerd. If you have, and you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe or like the video. And if you're watching it anywhere, feel free to share this podcast. You know, recently this podcast has been doing really well, and I'm really happy with the progress we're making here. This is our currently, I think it'll say 36, but this is our 35th episode of the podcast. So we're getting up there now. And I'm very proud of everything we're doing here, and I'm very excited to continue going into all these different movies, you know, hopefully being able to look at Barbie and Oppenheimer in a few weeks. And yeah, it's so fun to come on here and discuss things with you guys, and kind of really spout all of my nonsensical knowledge at the screen for a bit, and hopefully that it gets into your ears / eyes. That sounds bad. Never mind. But thank you guys as always for watching / listening, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.